Welcome to Beyond the Comfort Zone Live, a show that helps you step out of your comfort zone into a place of growth and learning. For those of you who are joining me the first time, I'm Aviva Lebo-Wolmer, and I'm a Vistage Chair in Atlanta, Georgia. I lead two groups of incredibly driven and ambitious CEOs who want to accelerate toward their goals faster. In addition, I facilitate a group of growth-oriented key executives who are dedicated to driving transformative change within their organizations. Our peer groups are powerful mastermind collective where members come together regularly to share ideas and experiences and support one another. No matter how many years of experience a leader has, the reality is they don't know what they don't know, and their experiences are still limited. It's just because they haven't been exposed to it yet. A peer environment creates valuable opportunities to explore the unknown, be more proactive, and make better decisions. By leveraging the collective wisdom and diverse perspectives of their peers, members are able to achieve more than they ever could on their own. Our guest today is Christian Hyatt. Christian is the CEO and co-founder of Risk 360, a cybersecurity firm. He has 15 years of advising technology companies to build and improve their cybersecurity programs. Christian works hard to partner with executives to help ensure that they have the strategy and the tactics to align cybersecurity and business objectives. Under Christian's leadership, Risk 360 has been named Consulting Magazine's Best Firms to Work For, Atlanta's Fastest Growing Companies, Atlanta's Best Places to Work, HireVet's Platinum Honoree, and more. Outside Risk 360, Christian advises technology startup companies on business growth. He's also an author, a keynote speaker, and a Vistage member. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Christian to the show. Christian, thank you for being on the Comfort Zone.
Thanks, Aviva. You forgot the most important part. In one of your CEO groups, and I get the experience of all of your experience. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I did say Vistage member and say you were one of mine.
Yeah, so I can highly endorse Aviva. She's a great chair. If anyone's considering Vistage, especially in Atlanta, you can take this soundbite and use it for all of your marketing purposes. You're a great chair, so thank you.
Well, you are awesome. I appreciate you, Christian. Thank you very much for your endorsement. I can endorse you as well that you are well worthy of being on the show, and I'm very excited to have you here today because you certainly advise the members of our group a lot on cybersecurity and technology. So I would love for you to tell my viewers about the current state of what's going on in cybersecurity and compliance. I always find it fascinating how much changes.
Yeah, it's man, it's just an exciting time to be in the industry, honestly. Over the last 15 years, I feel like I kind of struck gold in starting a career in cybersecurity when I did, because it's just been nothing but change and exciting the whole time. I know people have probably seen the headlines, like stuff with artificial intelligence, a lot of big data breaches, unfortunately, things like that. But at a very high level, I think we're at a crossroads in a couple ways in the cybersecurity space, just to give people a sense for where we are. One, a cool stat I like to remind people is that right now there's more data created every year than in all of human history. So it's kind of like that exponential growth curve where every couple of years more data is created than ever before. So just the digitization of our society inherently means that there's more things to steal. There's more risk for each of us. Like, we're all on social media, we all do digital banking, so on and so forth. In tandem, probably everyone's seen the huge headlines. They've seen different data breaches. They've probably had some personal experiences with cybersecurity issues. Probably they work for companies and has seen an email come through where their own company was impacted. And the cybersecurity criminal enterprise is like a $10 trillion industry. It's actually larger and faster growing than the criminal drug trade. So it's just crime pays, unfortunately. That's where we're at as a society. And then a third kind of macroeconomic factor is just the emerging technology and all the regulation that's happening. Different states and different countries are trying to create legislation to require different cybersecurity protocols from healthcare companies, financial companies. And you have those three big trends happening: more data created than ever before, cyber crime that's more popular than ever, more and more regulation, and and that's becoming a huge burden for individuals and companies. Hence, why we created Risk 360. There's just a huge amount of opportunity to help both people and companies solve some of those really big problems when it comes to cybersecurity and compliance. And that's why we started Risk 360, to help solve some of those problems.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot when you think about those three things. I mean, the amount of data, really the amount of cyber crime is just baffling from what you just shared.
It is. I mean, even small businesses. I've gotten calls recently from colleagues that own very small businesses, maybe 5 people, and they have email fraud or wire fraud or banking fraud at their tiny business, and they don't have the resources to deal with that. And then on the other side of the coin, there's a Fortune 500 company that has to comply with 50 different cybersecurity regulations across international governments, and the cost and complexity that's causing them is also really burdensome. So it's really coming at us from all angles. We mostly deal with the business side of it, but on the personal basis, I get phone calls every once in a while to help people out who have smaller businesses as well.
I was going to imagine, I bet your friends and family call you all the time about, what do I do with this email?
They do, and I'm happy to help. And it's usually very simple. I should probably just write them a little ebook or something for a quick fact, which they would never read. They'd still call me.
Exactly. I was going to say that would take your time for something that we will still get the same effect.
Yep.
So what type of companies do you work with, and what types of problems are you solving for them?
Yeah, so we solve probably, if you're not in our space, we solve a problem that's probably something people aren't tracking. So I mentioned those 3 big factors that's happening in the cybersecurity space. And one of the big factors I mentioned is regulatory and compliance. There's a lot of different regulations at the government level, but there's also a lot of business-to-business compliance requirements. So what we're saying is, let's say you want to do business with a big bank. You have a technology company, you want to do business with them. In the contract, they're signing you up for all sorts of cybersecurity requirements. You probably have to get different certifications. You probably have to build a certain level of maturity cybersecurity program, and you probably have hundreds of those clients, plus regulatory environment, and it's very complex. So the technology, we mostly work with technology companies, and the problems that they have is they're trying to build a great security program to protect the data. They're very excited about that. They feel good about that. But in the backdrop of that, they have to build programs that are compliant with a whole spider web of different compliance requirements. And that is not very exciting often, because it requires a unique skill set of technical skills. You almost have to be a lawyer to understand that. Sometimes the requirements are very unclear. How you meet those requirements are very unclear. And you have to be audited. And no one enjoys being audited for the most part. And not only are they being audited once, they're probably being audited year-round by different audit firms, by their own customers. They're probably going through internal audits, and they have to comply with different frameworks like SOC 2, ISO 27001, GDPR, the whole alphabet soup of different requirements. So it creates a huge burden for these companies. It becomes very, very costly to do that. They have to build whole teams to do it.
Oh, I think we are frozen.
So what it is, we built a company. Oh no. Am I frozen?
You are now unfrozen. You're back. But it's
Let me should be okay on my end. Everything says I'm good.
You're back. It was just a little grainy, but
One sec. And worst guest ever. Are we back?
You're good. Those was clips to record.
Okay. So I was going on a diatribe there. What was that?
Okay, you're talking about the ABCs of compliance.
Yeah. So different alphabet soup for compliance. I'll start off. So the bottom line is, the big problem that our customers have is they have a ton of regulatory requirements, ton of compliance requirements, and we help them solve that. So we have basically a whole team of experts. We build a SaaS platform that helps them navigate those different cybersecurity requirements. And then we have some playbooks that we've built that if you want to harmonize those different requirements, you can do it very efficiently. So companies either hire us as their auditor, an advisor, or sometimes they. It looks like we froze again.
Yeah.
It seems like we're good. Maybe it's Teams.
I don't know. You are still like a blur on my end. Oh, which I never moved us. Uh-oh. Hold on.
I was just checking to make sure I was hardwired in, like nothing weird. I look good. I think I'm okay on my end.
Okay. Well, we'll keep going. Yeah, you're clearing back up. I don't know.
It might be Teams. I know Teams has been having outages.
Oh, you are now orange.
I saw that. Blur.
But now you're clear as day.
Okay. Well, we can just march through. Sorry. It might be Teams. I've heard other people say that Teams have been having issues.
Well, it is what it is. We'll make it happen. So Christian, we had a little bit of break up there and fun technology stuff happening our way. So you were talking about the alphabet soup of compliance, and honestly, it sounds exhausting from what I was hearing. How do you deal with all the different regulations and support the businesses? You're about to tell us about your SaaS platform.
Yeah. So, historically, how people have managed the different compliance requirements is, you throw all the requirements in an Excel spreadsheet and you try to track them. You're reading the legislation, you're reading the different compliance things. And so managing those programs becomes either you're depending on an expert at your company who, if they leave, that expertise walks out the door. Maybe you have an Excel spreadsheet out there that's trying to help you map all the different compliance requirements, whatever it might be, or you've built a huge team to try to field this. So what we've done is we've built the team on our client's behalf. So we do have all the expertise in-house. And we've also built Full Circle GRC, which is our SaaS GRC platform. So when a new regulation comes out or a new security compliance requirement comes out, we put it in our platform. But not only do we put it in the platform, we kind of explain it in human readable format. So if there is a requirement that is otherwise uninterpretable, we try to explain that in plain English. And in addition to that, a lot of these compliance requirements have like a ton of overlap. So for example, 5 different frameworks might say you have to have a security policy, but they'll say that in a very different way. So we'll deduplicate that and say, hey, look, if you have a security policy, that meets all 5 of these different regulatory requirements instead of you doing that 5 different times. So through some of those efficiencies and our own expertise, we're able to be really efficient on behalf of our clients.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it, because it sounds, if you are having to manage all of those things and audits for a company, confusing and really easy to make a mistake, which I imagine would be very costly to a business, the types of businesses that you work with.
One of the things that's happening right now is, everybody's aware of the economy. It's just rough. Like a lot of our clients are going through layoffs or reductions in force, or they just have a hiring freeze. But amongst all of that, they still have these very complex requirements. So they're kind of looking for ways to become more efficient, cut costs, cut complexities. So we just had a client who, through several acquisitions, they had to lay off an entire 38-person security and compliance team. And those requirements didn't go away. So they worked with Risk 360 because we've been working with them for about 6 years now. And we were able to do with about 4 people what they were previously doing with 38 people. So we cut their compliance costs by over 50%. And they're still meeting all their compliance requirements. I would argue in some ways doing it even better. And they adopted our GRC platform, got rid of a legacy GRC platform that was really, really expensive. And now they're all sitting around thinking, man, we should have done this a long time ago. So we're seeing some huge success stories. So I guess for any business, when there's economic turbulence, there's a lot going on. There's also opportunities. For us, we're really focused in on how can we make our clients a lot more efficient, help save them money while also building a better experience and a better program for them.
What would you like? How do you describe what compliance as a service is?
Yep. So what our flagship product we call compliance as a service, and that's really a managed program for us. And that really is just outsourcing your GRC or outsourcing your compliance program. So for every compliance program in the security space, there's about 15 or so different work streams that you have to do. So examples of those work streams might be establish a governance structure, write all these policies, field cybersecurity audits, do internal audits, and so on and so forth. So we said, hey, look, this is the requirements of every compliance program to meet these different regulatory requirements. We're really good at those 15 things. Why don't we package them together and do it for and with our clients so they don't have to do that internally? So they're often in a situation where they're kind of limping through it. They're not really good at any of it. They're doing it very ad hoc. And we've built systems and processes to become excellent at those things. So it makes a lot of sense for organizations to outsource that to us. And what that enables their team to do is really focus on the stuff only they can focus on, which is like organizational change, strategy, budgets, building relationships, that kind of thing. And they're very happy to outsource that to us because typically it's not the type of work that they really want to do anyway. So it's good for them culturally, and more importantly, it's good for them in their pocketbook, which they enjoy.
I would say so. Compliance is just not the fun stuff. I know you, and I know you make it fun with your team every day, but compliance is not the fun stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you have to build a culture around it in terms of like the way our business works is kind of like taking out the trash in a certain way. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way or anything, but it's one of those things that a lot of folks don't look forward to as part of their job. So the way we've made that really good is become what we call craftsmanship in that area. Like we've hired people who really enjoy that kind of work. We've built a fun environment, so it's enjoyable to do the work. We've gamified it in some ways. And that's really hard to do. It's hard to find people. There's a huge talent shortage. That's another issue in cybersecurity and compliance. So just finding the right people and building the right culture to do that well is almost impossible in certain circumstances internally. So it's just one of those things that makes a ton of sense to outsource because you can outsource it to someone who's excited and great at doing it.
Well, and you guys have an amazing culture, having been to your offices and just seeing the interactions and the games and the fun they all have.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
Like I said, that doesn't sound a lot of fun, but I know you guys have a lot of fun.
We do. And by the way, it is fun for me. Like, and I know that's an anomaly. Like, I love the cybersecurity and the compliance space. Like, for example, a new AI certification just came out. It's the first ever artificial intelligence certification. And for me, it's such an exciting opportunity to like crack that thing open and see how the world is thinking about governing artificial intelligence. And then taking these very abstract requirements and thinking about how would that play out in the real world? How can I advise my clients to do that? So for example, there's requirements for an AI risk assessment or something that's called an AI impact assessment, where you have to predict the potential negative impacts to the people who are using that service. And those are such abstract concepts. And because we have a history in security and compliance, I can say, oh, I see how they did it here and here. I know the regulatory authority who put this together, so I understand why they're using that language. And here's a practical approach to do that thing. So it almost becomes this game of insider knowledge and trying to take this abstract stuff and make it concrete. And that's where it really gets fun. But most people don't get to spend their day every day like that. Most companies are being very reactive. Like my customer told me I had to get certified. That's not very fun. So some of those dynamics is why I think it becomes really enjoyable for us.
Very cool. I know that you have a big announcement coming by the time this airs. I think it will have been announced. So can we get a sneak preview?
Yeah, I'll just announce the whole thing. So they'll either hear it here first or it'll be already announced. So so we've been working for at least the last 6 months to bring a new product and a new brand to the marketplace. And we're going to release that all on the week of January 22nd. So what we've done as a firm is our GRC platform that I was talking about is completely rebranded now. from it used to be called Phalanx, which was a Spartan military formation, and people couldn't really say the name, didn't know what that was, and we've rebranded that to Full Circle. And with that rebranding, we're also bringing a brand new module called the Controls module, which is awesome. We did over 20 demos in the first 2 weeks of December. And that I mentioned the phenomena of being able to map different frameworks across each other. It's going to have some of those capabilities, really give companies the ability to manage their program in a unique way. So we're bringing all that to the market. And in addition, we're rebranding the firm. It'll still be called Risk 360, but we're updating the website. And we're really taking what feels like a risk to be very, very clear about who we serve and how we serve them. Historically, we've been pretty broad. We said we served high growth technology companies, and almost every company in some way defines themselves as a high growth technology company. But really who we serve best are companies who have multiple products, multiple compliance frameworks. They're kind of sub-enterprise, and they have unique personalities and unique problems. So everything that we do from a content development perspective, our website, the products and services that we own, bringing compliance as a service to the marketplace is intended to speak specifically to those types of individuals with those very specific pain points. So it really represents a total transformation of how we're going to market and what we're bringing to market for our customers. But I think for those folks experiencing the problems that I've described, they're going to be nodding their head and really excited about it. So, and we are too. We're very, very excited about this. We have a launch week, the week of January 22nd. It's going to be a whole week of Risk 360 swag wearing and LinkedIn posts and being excited about all the hard work that the team's done over the last 6 months.
Well, that is super exciting. A new name, Full Circle. Product. I never was able to say Phalanx. I think I just said it wrong, possibly even then. So
yeah, we're excited. After you hear a few clients say it wrong, you're like, okay, we should probably change it. But Full Circle, when we heard that name, we went through a whole naming campaign internally. So we didn't hire a consultant or anything. We did all of this internally. We had to have a marketing team. And then when we arrived at Full Circle, we were like, that's it. We feel really good about that.
Now, I know you do a lot of work as far as compliance as a service where your teams help these companies. Are you also selling Full Circle as a platform where companies aren't utilizing your services, they're just using the platform?
We do, yeah. So customers really engage us in a couple of different ways. So one way, really three. Customers sometimes engage us as their external auditor. So if you have to get one of those different certifications and you need an auditor, sometimes we are the auditor.
Okay.
The second way they engage is if they want the consulting side of that. So they either want to outsource the program or they want us to help build the program. And that's our compliance as a service offering. And the third way that they often engage us is they say, hey, we have a great team. We've also managed to build the team that's excited about this thing, but we would love the technology to support that. So they buy Full Circle as a SaaS platform. So yes, they can currently buy that today, and we'll continually be selling that into the future. We're really excited about that.
Well, we're on cybersecurity. You speak to a lot of Vistage groups, not so much about this complicated stuff that I can say most of us probably don't understand. But what are a couple of tips just for everyday people like me and you on things we should be thinking about cybersecurity?
Yeah. So one of the talk that I give that is exactly this question. I cover off on three things. I cover off on how cybersecurity is relevant for individuals. So the CEOs and executives listening to this that have individual risk on the table. I cover risk to families and people with kids and grandkids and the things that they should be worried about. And then I do cover a little bit on the company side. Two of the biggest things I think is just like individual hygiene. You know, if you're a CEO, if you're an entrepreneur, a lot of people who you work with at Aviva, they're probably high net worth individuals. They often have businesses that they're responsible for. There's a lot on the line for them, so they have to consider like their personal cybersecurity hygiene. So just a couple things I think make sense for that kind of individual is one, passwords. So use a like LastPass, Password One, whatever your choice is, something to protect your passwords, rotating passwords, using strong passwords, using multi-factor authentication. If you don't know what that is, you can Google MFA, just so people can't break into your accounts. Like that's the stuff that protects your bank account, it protects your email. It's probably the number one technical thing that you can do. I should have led with this one, but really the number one thing you can do is vigilance, like having a skeptical mind. If you see an email come through, be skeptical of it. If someone sends you an invoice and asks you to pay for it, don't just pay it. call the person, verify that the invoice information is accurate and you're not paying someone fraudulently. If you get a phone call, be skeptical of that. So just being very, very skeptical, using strong passwords, using basic email hygiene. The other thing that folks find really compelling that I don't think they're thinking about is just ways to protect their children and online safety, online privacy. In the talk I gave, I talk a lot about how predators are trying to exploit children through things like YouTube, like putting out videos that are very popular with kids because they name the video something that makes no sense, but it's really good for keywords for kids. Thinking about the media that your kids are using in terms of games and chat. And if you have a little bit older kid and they have a phone at school, thinking about how they're communicating with other kids at school. Are they getting bullied over text? So I think the big picture there is just having an open and honest conversation with your family about technology, the ground rules for using technology, the risks and benefits of using that. That way you don't end up in a situation where you, your family, or your kids are being preyed upon. So those are some of the high level things that I think about every day at the individual level that I think make a big impact if you can correct.
Yeah, I will say the YouTube Kids one is one of the things you shared that stuck out with me. Being a mom of a 6-year-old who loves YouTube Kids,
Yep.
realizing that some of the keywords and things that could come up for him, what they showed, and we won't show it here. It is not appropriate in
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form, which if it's not appropriate here, imagine that it's really not appropriate for your kids. So that was just fascinating to me that
Yeah.
there's people who it's fun for them to figure out how to get in front of these kids through just normal media.
Yeah.
Really scary. Thank you for the tips. Appreciate it. I think it'll be helpful for everybody. It's amazing how much it spread. You said something in there too about text message. Cybersecurity is not only an internet issue anymore. I see it in text a lot. So like go down the hall and get your CFO to send you X money kind of stuff is now coming out through texts of please go buy X gift cards. And so it's really
Absolutely.
spread.
Yeah, one of the things that happens to us at Risk 360, and this isn't because Risk 360 is special or anything, this is a very common thing, is every time we get a new hire, that new hire receives an email or a text message that claims to be from me and says something like, hey, go buy me some cards, I'm in a meeting, or can you run me some sort of errand? And people being right out of college often, they're anxious to please. They think they're getting a message from the CEO. Sometimes they'll follow through with that. And what we think is happening is when that new hire changes their LinkedIn from one job to Risk 360, there's probably someone monitoring that on an automated fashion and saying, hey, this is a brand new employee entering a new job. That means they're probably more susceptible to that kind of scam. And that's a really easy example that we see proliferated across all different kinds of companies where they get that kind of stuff. So it's getting pretty sophisticated, especially with AI, because the text messages that they can send, the types of email look really authentic, and they can gather a lot of information about you online to customize those messages. And that's why ultimately vigilance is number one thing that you need to do, is just be really skeptical.
You definitely don't have a fun job having to be negative and skeptical all the time.
I know. I get that feedback. It's fun. I swear it's not that bad. It's good. Most things are good. There's way more opportunities with technology than there are risks. Just be aware of the risks.
So I know you also have a book coming out this year. Will you tell me a little bit about it?
Yep, I do. So we are a little over a year into that process now. I think all said and done, it'll probably have been an 18-month to 2-year process. I say that because there's probably other people thinking about writing a book. So I've always been pretty, I would say, prolific writer in terms of volume. Like it's always been something I did. I journal, I post on social media. Before Risk 360 was a company, it was actually a blog. I used to write about cybersecurity. So one of my personal ambitions was to write a book. I just wanted to get it out of my system. I have no aspirations that it would be a bestseller or anything, but I wanted to give it a shot and get some of these thoughts out on paper and publish that to the world. So we have this concept at Risk 360 called the Security Team Operating System. It's basically a 5-part system that security leaders can use to run a great business. It's purpose, vision, roles, values, and meeting rhythms. So it's a really compact system that security leaders can use to organize how they run their team. And it's how we run our own business. We have what we call a management operating system. So I wanted to take some of those best practices and things I've learned over the last 10 years running a business and give that to security leaders and say, hey, security leader, you can do this. This is how you can run your business. So I packaged that up into a workshop as well as a book. And I'm going to send it out to clients and different security leaders out there. And it's been a really fun process. I've gotten to work with professional editors. I had an accountability partner help me write the book, and I'm glad I'm getting that out of my system. It's really fun. And if your listeners might be interested in this too, as I was getting the book designed, because as an entrepreneur and an owner, one of the reasons you're doing this is for business development purposes. You're hoping to get your company's brand out there. The guy who's designing my book specializes in children's books before he became a business book author. And then one of the things he said is, hey, why don't you turn this business book about cybersecurity into a children's book on top of that? Because readers love that, and they make your ideal reader the hero of the book. So in my case, security leaders, and then they'll explain it in really easy format. So this security team operating system that's 35,000 words will now be a children's book that the security executive can go share with their kids and explain what mom or dad does for a living. The character in the book makes them a hero. And when I heard that idea, I was like, man, that is a no-brainer. What a great idea. I want to share that with my daughter and my son. So we're doing that too. So not only will I be a business book author, I'll also have a children's book floating around out there that'll probably sell way better and be way more popular than my actual book. But I'm excited about that. I thought that was a great idea. So for anyone else out there, maybe they can steal that idea too.
That's very creative. And who says compliance people don't have any fun? You wrote a children's book now.
Yeah. I'm really excited.
Well, I look forward to reading it to my son. This question I ask to every guest on my show, I think it might be a little harder for you, though, because you see something you've never done before and you just go after it. So what is something that's outside of your comfort zone that you've never done before?
Maybe I'll answer that a little. So I'll give some context. So one of the goals that I set every year for myself, I set goals. I use this format called the 5Fs: faith, family, fitness, finances, fun. And it helps me kind of keep a balanced life. And I set goals according to each of those. But one of my overarching goals is to do something hard every year. And the way I define hard is to do something that I'll remember that I did forever. So in previous years, I've ran a 100-mile relay race with my team. Then we upped it the next year and did a 200-mile relay race. The one I just did, which I wish was my answer, was I signed up for a stand-up comedy course and want to do that. So there's a lot of things I want to do. And I did the stand-up comedy course. I did stand up in front of audience. Aviva, you know all about that. So that was my hard thing. And this year, I haven't set my exact goal, but I have a few of them. But one of the things that's really hard, two things one is business related, one is personal related, is one I'm really trying to lead through others this year. I feel like I've had the pleasure of coming a long way in my leadership journey. I still have a very long way to go. But I have some emerging leaders that want to be CEOs of their own business units, and I think I have something to share with them. So rather than me doing things, I want to give them the opportunity to do some of those things. And for a lot of people, that might not be a challenge, but for me, that is a challenge. So I want to build other great leaders in their own right heading into this year. And then on the physical part of it, I want to run an ultra marathon, and an ultra marathon is anything longer than a marathon. So a marathon, so it could be 30 miles or something like that. But I think I'll remember it if I do something like that. So those are two of the hard things that I hope to accomplish in short order.
Well, I love it. Two, one business related and one just, I could never do that. But that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christian, for joining me today. It's truly an honor to have you as a guest on my show. And thank you to everyone who's joined us. Until next time on Beyond the Comfort Zone, I encourage all my viewers to try something new outside your comfort zone, because that's where growth occurs and life begins. Have a great day, everyone.